Good morning, everyone, and Merry Christmas, season's greetings. We are now officially in December. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. Jason, myself, and the boys came back after going to the march on Saturday, the March for Justice, with Artur Pawlowski, Maxime Bernier, Bathsheba Vandenberg, Pastor Sean, Jason, obviously, just to name a few. Thank you, everyone who turned out to support the March for Justice and all those victims of it in Canada. And for everyone who took the time before, during, and afterwards to say hello to Jason. It was great to connect with some of our members and viewers, and he really appreciated everyone taking the time to reach out and say hi. And yes, it was very cold, and so those that did turn up to listen to the speeches and take part in the march, thank you for doing what you did. There was press there, Mocha was there, and apparently I believe it was streamed as well. Artur Pawlowski also put it on his X, so you can go ahead and check it out there too. Oh, and yes, and there was Theo Fleury. That was wonderful. I got to meet Maxime Bernier and Theo Fleury in the parking lot, so that was a nice moment for me as well. So everyone, it's Monday. We are beginning the countdown to Christmas, but unfortunately, we are starting with a bit of a sad story today. We are going to be speaking about Kayla Fillion. Is a young woman who passed away in early November of this year after seeking some medical assistance from her local hospital. And she was having a mental health crisis, and she called 911. She went to seek help. She was actively aware that something wasn't right, and she wanted to speak to someone. She wanted some assistance. And unfortunately, after being discharged 2 hours later from the hospital, we lost her. And it's been obviously a tragedy for her family and her friends. And so we have a fellow streamer, Jonny Rawton, who's a family friend. He's going to be coming on today to share Kayla's story, to represent her dad in this case, because her father is dealing with a few issues himself. And he's going to be coming on and sharing Kayla's story, sharing the awareness, sharing concerns that some people in that local community have over the local medical facility. And let's go ahead and bring him on. Jonny, if you're ready, can I get a thumbs up? Good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time today. And I said earlier, thanks for being a good friend.
Well, I mean, you just do what you can, right? And I mean, obviously, this is a bit of an extraordinary circumstance, but it's a tough one. That's for sure.
That's true. Now, how did obviously you know the father, and did you know Kayla beforehand? Had you met her? Like, what was your involvement?
I personally had not met her. I've just met him and his wife,
Mhm.
and I mean, they're great people. And it's just one of those situations where the like there are obviously some mental health supports around, but I mean, when we're looking at hospitals and in our medical system, it is lacking. It's
Mhm.
lacking huge, actually.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I mean, there may be the departments, there may be some staff, but what is the actual quality of care, resources, and advice that is being provided to the public? And in this case, it does seem to have potentially fallen short. So, do you want to just go ahead and share the story and give us a bit of information?
Yeah, basically, it would have been November 9th. I believe that Kayla may have been out with some friends and, maybe had a few drinks, led to some depression and some thoughts. And, she reached out for help, called 911. EMS picked her up. They brought her into the hospital. And I mean, one of the crazy parts of the story is the fact that she was in and out in 2 hours, which, I mean, I don't know about your hospital, but we don't do that at mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare, that's for sure. So he thinks that a lot of what happened is that she was probably being dismissed as difficult. And especially because, I mean, there may have been some intoxication as well, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's that. It's that kind of desensitization, but it's believed that she was there for 2 hours and they let her walk home, apparently, as well. That's the other thing that he's kind of confused about. He had taken a video of her state before she had left in the ambulance, so for her to be walking home, he thought was strange. But when she did get home, he says that they had a great talk, and she was just going to go and kind of sleep it off a bit, and they were going to talk in the morning again. And when the morning came, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
she was no longer with us.
Do you know, if you could disclose, do you know if she had a history of mental health issues or concerns?
That he has come right out and said that himself, like right in the GoFundMe link. He mentions that, had they just checked her file, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you check her file, she's had the history. She's, and I mean, whether or not she may have been told maybe there was no beds, I don't know. I know that there's been a ton of stories that have come forward since about kind of issues similar to this, where, yeah, a lot of the time it's just they're told there's no bed, so kind of go home kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
Um, Unfortunately, he didn't go with her, and I think that's probably something that, he's not looking fondly on right now, because he does feel that if he had went, that there would have been a better opportunity that she would have stayed.
Yeah,
Um,
he would have been an advocate for her to make sure she got the care and treatment she needed.
Absolutely, and I think the other question here is too is whether or not they had prescribed her anything or anything like that, because I guess it is mentioned in the GoFundMe that she did take her pills. So I think that they may have prescribed her some, which would be not so good given the state that she was in. But it just seems like a lot of complacency and maybe apathy as well.
Yeah, and then speaking of which, why don't we bring up the GoFundMe now so that we can see this? So hold on, let me clear this off. So this is for Kayla's legal fees to fight malpractice resulting in death. So this is the direction that the family would like to go in, because they have got serious concerns with the way she was dealt with and subsequently treated at the hospital.
I mean, that is certainly the starting point for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, quite clearly, they want the answers for the closure. That's for sure.
Right.
But it's I think it's also kind of taken on a bit of a trying to kind of fight to maybe stop it from happening again, and as well as any of those, because like we mentioned, ever since there's been an outpouring of different stories, of different people's experiences at the hospital. I mean, I've had my own experience there, nothing like this though,
Mm-hmm.
but it is kind of indicative to what goes on in there. And
Okay,
I don't know
so
if this is a local thing or not, but
well, we'll come to that. Right now, I want to share the video from the father. So let's go and add this one video, and let's just go ahead and take a listen.
Good morning, Kayla's Corner. I just went in and had a meeting with Bob Bailey. We expressed some of our concerns, and we've got some new resources that are going to go up onto the webpage as well. I showed Mr. Bailey the video of Kayla in her state before she went. I questioned him about the average wait times in the hospital. I told him about Kayla's discharge papers and what was said on it from October 14th, and just basically what was said on it should have been grounds for them to look at her file before they even went in. So I spoke with Dr. Bailey, or Mr. Bailey, sorry, and he thinks that there should be some sort of like 5-step, 4-step program to identify mental health. I told him how I was trying to use the crisis nurse myself for my grieving process up there, and that the computer screens were frozen and another nurse had to come by and see if they could get into the next screen, and the screens for the questioning, and the questions were super bizarre anyways, like no pertinence to mental health at all, really. The screen froze and they had to get another nurse. I'm standing there with a panic attack and a heart condition waiting for them to do this particular computer thing. So he knows that there's definitely some things that can be improved there, and we're going to be working with him hand in hand with people with firsthand experience of mental health. You know, thousands of the supporters that we have, there's a cross section of them that are suffering right now, and we can tell you exactly what they experience in the ER room without any embellishment or any takeaways, and that's a fact. There's thousands of us now. There's thousands upon thousands of us watching Bluewater Health at this point, and they're still doing the same thing. I went in to be readmitted. I had special orders basically from my cardiologist that I was dealing with the one night, a few nights ago. Didn't want to leave my wife and son after having to bury our child. Everybody's still very upset in the household. It hits us really bad at night, especially my wife. So I put my own physical peril at risk to come home to be with her, but under the understanding that if my blood pressure skyrocketed again, I would come back up. So the same nurse that dealt with Kayla that night told me that she knew who I was no special, that I would have to re-triage. So I walked home just like Kayla did that night, except I'm still here. She's not. Fact of the matter is they would have looked at her paperwork and seen that she was a harm to herself and others and had a history of it. We wouldn't be having this conversation. This movement wouldn't have been created. So that's why this movement is going to work, because it's grassroots, for the people, by the people. And the government machine head and the corporate entities cannot withstand what we are going to bring. And all we're bringing is honesty. With the thousands of testimonials that are being worked up to be typed up right now. Bob Bailey is getting me the numbers so that I can submit all those texts and all those stories, some anonymous and some with people that want to go on the record to the colleges of nurses and physicians. And then the same package is going to be hand-delivered and was requested by the Ontario Health Minister. I knew right off the bat that if I went to Bluewater Health with my grievances, I would have gotten nowhere. So that's why I've turned this into, conservatively, let's just see, guys, and I want to thank you for your support. TikTok, 2 million followers. Our webpage is approaching 10,000 people. Our petition that we have, that we're going to be presenting soon, has already gotten close to 2,000. And not to mention 34 or so thousand followers from Lambton County alone. So we do know the elections are coming up, guys, and we know who's responsible for what. And we've got a bunch of people on this particular page that want to be able to have their voice heard. I'm going to make sure that you hear that voice. And it is reaching people. I'm going to be posting in a minute how far our website has been reaching. How about people in Australia? How about people in India going to Kayla's Corner 2024.com to find out what the buzz is down here? I'm telling you, there's a GoFundMe out there. If each one of the people on TikTok donate $1, that's $1 million that we got that we're going to use to fight for your kids, your nieces, your sisters, your grandmothers, your mothers, your fathers, your sons. It's going to stop. It's going to stop now. Mental health crisis isn't annoying. If somebody comes in 200 times to that ER, you got to treat them like it's their first time. Don't treat them like they're annoying. Don't go, oh, you're drunk, and send them on their way. Look at their paperwork. That's what you're getting paid to do. It's a click of a button. As soon as you dismiss those people based on your relative opinion of what they're going through, you jump right on your phone and send text messages in between spaces. No one's in the ER anyways, and play your stupid games on the phone. Everybody does it. Don't lie. Check your stuff and look at the news. If you would have spent that amount of time looking up Kayla's medical history, like I said, we wouldn't be having this conversation. They have no idea the beast that social media is, and I'm fully utilizing that to get answers and to get recompense for the unjust death of my daughter, Kayla Justine Filion. And I thank you for all your support.
Oh, what a good man. What a good dad. He will not take this lying down. Good for him.
When I just mentioned like the computer system, because it was about October last year that we found out that the hospital had been hacked and all of our information has been stolen.
And what's been subsequently done? I mean, is Bluewater giving updates to the public? Because it is the local hospital for the community, right?
Right. From what I understand with that, it was a group of hackers who, by the way, were gloating how easy it was. That was awesome. Apparently, they used one password for many different departments. But the hacker group stole everybody's information from that hospital from February of 1996 all the way up until whatever, which included 20,000 social insurance numbers. A whole bunch of other stuff. The hackers wanted, I believe it was $5 million in order to not sell the data. The hospital told them no, and they went ahead and sold it anyway. And I do believe that there's supposed to be like a $480 million lawsuit on them now, but there's that. And that's made them switch systems over. So that's where he was talking about this. I don't know, I guess it's a new form of intake that they do, but and when he mentions that no matter how many times you come back, it was interesting because as he said that, I was just reading an article coincidentally that came out 4 days ago here locally, saying that basically patient satisfaction is up with the hospital. I thought the timing was weird there, but it was talking about the number of people that return to the ER after a visit for mental health. Their target, they want it to be about 14%. Currently, I believe the figure was about 25% are coming back in after having already gone to the ER.
And so not satisfactory treatment, it's causing them to need to come back.
Yeah. And I mean, our wait times are huge too. And I think that's another factor as well. Like I've known people that will actually drive the hour to go to London or, you know, another town just outside just to avoid that entire building. It's one of those situations. But I mean, especially with mental health, it's hard to explain, but I think a lot of it is complacency, apathy, and just annoyance. Right? It's almost like they get annoyed with these people continuously coming through.
But this is the thing. This is the field that they're in. It's the caring field. It's the medical field. They're meant to go through training as part of their career choice in order to work with people, you know, people that return and people who have ongoing sufferings, whether medically or mentally. That's their job, in my opinion. Wow. And so I do roll my eyes at the whole dismissiveness of some patients by the medical staff, because that is your job, to care for your community, to treat your community as best you can. Don't know if really that's in their job description, but it's what I thought they had to do.
Well, and there's times if you go in there and you go into the back, like you'll get a diagnosis like so quick. It's like they don't even really look you over. They just walk in, they just assume that's what it is. They tell you that's what it is, and they walk out. And it's just like, are you actually even going to look?
Yeah.
Right? Like there was one, I'm trying to remember specifically what the situation was, but there was a guy that went in, he had a bump, like there was swelling on his cheek. And I guess when he went to the emerge, doctor just basically opened up the curtain to his room, looked in, and he was like, "Oh, it's a cyst." And that was that. That was the end of his, and it wasn't a cyst. That's the other thing, because it kept on growing and eventually started affecting his vision, and he had to come in again. But it's stuff like that where it's almost like it's a chore to do their job.
Yeah, and to be fair, I could appreciate them being understaffed. My understanding is that some have been understaffed even before we've had to deal with certain global issues that's caused members of staff to lose their jobs. I'm aware of that. I know it's not the easiest profession to be in, but nevertheless, that person sitting in front of you requires your attention, requires your focus, requires your diagnosis, so that they can be treated and move on and not need to return. So I've always appreciated the medical community, nurses, teachers, because I know your field is not easy, but it does require that 100% effort and attention because it's your job.
Well, and you say right, understaffed. I mean, I'm certainly not here to try and act as if every nurse or every doctor is a piece of crap, because obviously I know that's not the case. They are understaffed. We is why I always kind of chuckle when people like tout our healthcare system as being something so great. Like, especially when Americans talk about it, they talk about it with such fondness and like, oh, I wish we had that.
It's free medical care.
Yeah, right. And it's like, okay, yeah, like, am I glad that if I go in, I'm not going to get a bill for it? Sure. But the fact that it is so lacking, that wait times are the way they are, that to get a needed surgery can take 6 months to a year, maybe even longer, depending on what it is. That it doesn't seem very satisfactory. And we know that with the way our government spends, right, unfortunately, it's not being spent in the correct area. I mean, our hospital, I chuckled when I found this out, is now the CEO is actually a psychiatrist. And, it's just funny. It's like he went from being $150,000 a year psychiatrist to a $300,000 a year CEO.
Plus bonuses.
Plus bonuses. But you would think that you would see some sort of improvement in the mental health areas of the hospital.
Exactly, his field of specialty. You would think, that would get a bit of a torchlight being shot on it to say, like, let's improve it. No, I completely agree. I find it interesting as well, the hospital where we were in Ontario, I'll just say it, in Mississauga, Civic Hospital, where our youngest was born. They were doing a huge renovation at the time. And I remember going in to have an ultrasound. And the whole area is like, in complete disarray because that's where they're doing the renos. And I said to the staff, oh, you guys must be excited. Your department's getting expanded. There's new renovations to the hospital. They were like, no, they didn't ask us. They didn't ask for our opinion. And so the renovations that were being done were not actually, in their opinion, going to be helping them with their work, with their workflow, with anything. And they just shook their head. It's like, this is going to be millions upon millions spent on this. And it just seems it's just for show, because none of their opinions was asked, considering it was their department being getting the reno. So I feel it's sad. I think it's really unfortunate that the powers that be up at their desks are planning all of these things, but that some perhaps are not asking the people that's going to be affecting. So I think that's an unfortunate situation as well. And like I said, that was what the large hospital in Mississauga, Ontario. They had to go through that. Well, so I wonder how that turned out for them.
Right. And I always kind of feel like, I don't know, mental health has been one of those things where it's like when I'm watching things, like take Bell Let's Talk as an example. I actually hate that. I get that, sure, maybe they might be donating some money. But to me, that is just a straight up virtue signal in order to promote your brand, right? You're not really giving anything, like, you don't really actually care, right? You just want to make Bell look good. And I remember, actually, it was a couple of years ago, what really cemented that for me was seeing that Bell, as an example, has this private deal with prisons, where that's why the collect calls are so much, and in which case the article was making the point that many in there facing mental health issues don't have the ability to call their outside supports. And it's like, so do they really give a shit, right? Like,
yeah,
And I find that is often the case, right? Especially with politicians. It's just about, okay, well, we just need to look good, right? In one of the testimonials, the woman makes the point that, we tell people to ask for help, we tell people to reach out for help, but then you end up going into an emergency room and you get an apathetic person to your plate, right? And
Yeah.
it certainly doesn't give any motivation to continue seeking help. I think what makes it even worse would be the fact that, I mean, you're taking a person who already feels that nobody cares and just showing them that they're right.
Correct. You're giving them minimum amount of attention, just trying to get them in and out the door, and not actually doing something while they're in and assisting them, so that, when they leave, they're not coming back because they've received the assistance that they've needed at that time. No, I'd agree.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Because we've mentioned it. Let's bring up Kayla's Corner. So, what can you say regarding this website? This was obviously created from the family. Can you add some more?
Yeah, it was another family friend actually who created it. I remember when we were at the protest, she said that she would do it for him. Basically, just a way to, first of all, get all of like the different social media accounts that they're using in one place, as well as now it's been updated with different resources within our local area, as well as just provincially as well.
I'll go to that now, because correct, it was quite an impressive collection of the resources available. So yes, and for all the different groups too.
Well, and this is the thing, like a lot of the people that have been, because he's been doing these protests pretty much every day since the funeral, 5:30 to 7:30, and make sure he hits it right as they're doing shift change as well, which that's interesting in and of itself. Because I've been there, and what he does is when he knows at shift change, he gets everybody to go to the emergency exit, like the emergency room doors.
Well done.
And that's where the nurses and the doctors do their shift change. And I found it very interesting that a lot of those nurses, nobody looks over, right? They act like you're not there, and they just continue going. It was just like one of those, I don't know, I noticed things, right? So when I noticed that you won't even look in our direction.
Yeah. Well, is it the comment that the nurse gave Matt while he was in the emerge? Oh, we know who you are. You're not going to get any special treatment. There's a bit of an arrogance and indignation about that, saying, I know who you are, and you're going to have zero effect on me. Why? Why would a man who's lost his daughter have zero effect on you? That's terrible.
Well, and I wish I should have grabbed that other video too, because the very first video he made was him going into the hospital just a couple of days after she died. And he basically goes in there and basically says, like, you're going to listen to her name out loud. And he's saying it right in front of an emergency room full of people waiting to go in and get triaged. And he's just explaining to them that his daughter died after they sent her home, and this and that. And I think what really strikes me is listening to the nurse respond to him. Literally, she just responded saying, I have work that I need to do. Right? Not, I'm sorry your daughter died. Not, no care for what he had said at all. Just basically, can you just make this quick? I have work to do.
I've got other people to treat.
Yeah, right. Like it almost kind of sums up exactly what he's feeling. And he even went as far as to tell me that there was a nurse who had made a comment somewhere on Facebook about his daughter's medical history, I guess you could say. So it's somewhat of a battle going on, that's for sure. But
interesting.
It's it kind of is. It's almost like they're just kind of getting defensive. So now they're just you know, it's a strange way to play it. Because like I said, on that first video, like, to be perfectly honest, knowing him, I think that any kind of level of concern probably would have went a long way in that moment.
Right, right. Now on that note, there's a second video that we can put on, and this is where Matt is explaining the resources available through Kayla's Corner, correct?
Yeah, he just basically he's mentioning. I believe this is the one where he's talking about the corner and.
Well, I think it would be useful because for those, and then again, this situation is in Ontario's in Sarnia it occurred at the Bluewater Health Hospital
Right.
or medical clinic.
Hospital, yeah.
Hospital. So for those of you that obviously may not live in that area, just be aware that some of the resources that Matt could be listing may be even available in your local area too. Just try and find it because it's always useful to know what's around, whether for yourself or for others who may need assistance.
And I think part of it is too, like, because I know, I think maybe the ombudsman that he mentions in the video, I think that'd be something that it'd be the same for each province, just obviously not. You're not going to use ours.
Correct. So let's check it out here. Why isn't this playing? So hold on. Let's put it back.
Hey guys, been trying to take it easy today. Part of my hospital stay last night was because I was dehydrated, so got my vitamin water. I love this stuff. If you ever tried it, go ahead and try it. It's good. Anyways, I see you like Ask Anything Sarnia and Confessions of Mommy and all these different like little pages that have been set up all over Sarnia. There's a lot of people asking for lawyers to litigate medical malpractice. I don't know if we have something to do about that. But please, when you see those, share the Kayla's Corner website, kaylascorner2024.com. Put it out there. It's got all the resources that can get someone started for legal representation. My suggestion is go to London or further. You want a big city man dealing with little city problems. The reason why you want those is because those guys have seen it all. You get somebody locally, they may not know as much, right? So you want to find somebody that specifically deals with that. And on the particular website too are links to the ombudsman's, as well as a bunch of different resources that you can get to start your process. We've done that because I'm going through the exact process now. So if I've inspired somebody to do that, please use some of our resources, the ones that I'm using. They'll get back to you pretty quick, within a couple of days anyway, so far. So, yeah, hopefully we can help, because that's what we're here to do. We're helping to bring awareness, and we're helping to bring the resources to our community so we can fight this thing, man, because it's not getting any better, and the reason we're getting such a good outcry is because people are fed up. They're just plain fed up, you know? So stand with us. I don't feel the greatest today, but I will be out there tonight. And I'll see you at 5:30, folks. Justice for Kayla.
What a guy. What a guy. And that's good. He's making the point of, look,
Yeah.
you don't know where to start.
Yeah,
Look at me. See, look at the resources I'm putting out there. This is the steps I'm taking. Good for him. Like, I'm glad they're not taking this lying down and they're investigating, because then if someone or something, the group needs to be held accountable, so be it. There's a loss of life involved here. And I found it interesting. We said there was that nurse who had posted online and she had posted her mental health history. That can only be a detriment to the hospital, because if she's aware of the history and this girl was in and out in 2 hours, that's not a good thing that she did. Not only the fact that she shouldn't have been disclosing a patient's private information publicly. But I find that interesting that they would do that. That would not be a good thing if she's had a history of mental health crisis. Why wasn't she then subsequently treated properly or accordingly for it? That's the question.
it's an excellent question. I mean, I did see if I still got it here. I got one of the testimonials, and I think that this is really, unfortunately, probably more typical of many of the cases. And it's a woman wrote in, just said that she was writing about her experience in the ER on Friday. It is unfortunate. I must write this complaint as typically my ER experiences at Bluewater Health have been acceptable. My 15-year-old daughter has a mental health diagnosis. On the evening of Friday, she told me she was very sad, was suicidal, that she had a plan and had been self-harming. She asked me to take her to the ER for help. She went willingly. We endured a multiple-hour wait in an interview room. We were finally seen in the early hours of Saturday by the crisis nurse, Brandon, I believe his name was. He interviewed her. She asked to speak to him alone and then spoke with me. He was very quick to point out that there were no youth beds available, and that if she was admitted, she would sit in the ER until a bed became available. And it's the weekend after all, so no chance of that happening. He also told me that my daughter was a difficult case, and he didn't know what to do. His biggest concern was that she confirmed she had a suicide plan but wouldn't disclose it to him. He asked me if I knew what it was. I did not, but she did tell me she had one, as I stated earlier. He then said that he would go back in and see if he could get it out of her, as that would make everything change. Now, that I'm going to stop for a second there. I'm not really sure, like, why should that matter, right? Like, why does it matter if she's going to disclose the plan or not? Is it not enough that she said she would?
Correct. I agree.
Right?
I
Like
agree.
that's my, like, when I'm reading that, it doesn't make sense to me that I would look at somebody and be like, well, what's your plan? Oh, you don't have one? Well, you must not be serious. Right? Like that's
Yeah.
kind of what it seems like to me. But anyway, he says again, he went in and spoke with her and came in and said to me, well, she just won't tell me, and that he needed to speak to the doctor again. He reiterated how difficult this situation was. The doctor came in shortly after with the nurse. I didn't catch her name, but it might have been Dr. Alley or something like that. She was curt and showed absolutely no compassion for our situation or the fact that it was 3 a.m. and we had been there for 3 hours. She did not address my daughter, but focused on me. She told me my daughter did not meet the criteria for an admission to a hospital. She listed 3 things that were the criteria, one being if she felt the patient was a danger to herself. She then said, I am an ER doctor, not a psychiatrist. And I love the little quip here. She's like, I assume she's also not a cardiologist, endocrinologist, or an orthopedic doctor. I bet she assesses those things in the ER regularly.
Right.
She then said to me quite rudely, what did you think was going to happen by bringing her here tonight? And that's kind of that's a tough question, right? Like, should you really be asking somebody that? She told me to take her home and keep an eye on her. She then went on to say, hide all your pills, and if you have a gun, you should hide that too, in front of my daughter.
Goodness.
Yeah, right? I was shocked that she made no attempt to talk to my daughter or assess her on show compassion for her situation at all. It was all blame, insinuations, and ignorance. We left the ER with my daughter crying. The first thing she said to me when we got outside the ER is, I guess I will go home and take a bunch of pills. My daughter continued to self-harm, and I was up all night. I'm sure she says, any child who asks to be taken to the ER and goes willingly is crying for help.
Correct. They have the presence of mind to say that something is not right. I'm not going to be able to help myself. I need help from someone else. The fact that they can do that, that's huge.
Absolutely. And like this line kind of hit me too, because it says, like, my daughter left the ER in shame, crying, and now with the idea of taking pills as a resolution to her mental anguish. The stigma of mental illness is awful enough, but when we constantly tell teens to get help, ask for help, go to ER if you feel suicidal, only to be met with apathy and shame and being chastised for seeking this help, we're epically failing.
Oh, yeah, not wrong. Not wrong.
No,
And one of the things I
absolutely.
wanted to highlight here as well, that under community stories, under the Kayla's Corner 2024.com website, community stories, people have been posting their experiences. So you can share your story, and then here are some of the stories that people have taken the time to share about this particular medical facility and the issues that they have had, and warnings to others to be aware. So there's quite the collection.
Oh,
There's
there is.
quite the collection here.
They're all over the Facebook page as well. He
Mm-hmm.
made a Facebook account on Kayla's Corner as well. But like ever since he started this is kind of what's been happening, right? Is people have been sharing their story. People have been. It's kind of snowballed from there, and yeah, a ton of submissions, which not a good thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great that people are coming out with it, but at the same time, I mean, it shows that there's a lot of room for
Yeah,
improvement here.
for sure. And we know that we don't live in a perfect society. We don't have a perfect medical system. We're aware of that. But there's got to be some standard of care, especially when there's, I would say in recent years, like the last decade, there's been a huge push on mental health. And so why are we not seeing the fruits of that? It seems like in the actual real world, we're seeing it in TV commercials, like says the Bell Talk. And we're seeing, yes, there's this department head and that department head, and we've got this group for children and who particularly want to do certain things to their bodies. But in the crux of it, like, where is the true mental health treatment and support that real world people need? And we have a situation here in Sarnia that a young woman did not receive it. And it's very sad for her and her family, and the ripple effect is going to be huge.
I also wonder, like, at what point is it like crisis level, right?
Hmm.
Because you look over the last, especially the last 4 years, the and I'm sure this is probably the same every. I don't think anybody watching is going to have a different idea here, but I mean the drug problem obviously has skyrocketed everywhere. We've got fentanyl everywhere. We've like my town, like we were what I think 90,000 people, right? It's not
Hmm.
very big, and yes, I know that we've always had addicts and we've always had homeless and we've had mental health problems. This has always existed. But I think what makes it worse now is it's out in the open,
Hmm.
right? You didn't used to see it. And I definitely believe addiction and mental health, those are two things that, they go hand in hand, right? Um, it's
And
almost like either mental health pushes you to addiction or addiction screws your mental health, right?
I would also add the type of medication that they give you. I had a conversation with someone a little while ago, and it was talking about the cycle between addiction and mental health, addiction and mental health. And what we added into that was that the subsequent medication that they give you isn't to treat your mental health issues, it's just to medicate you. And that's the unfortunate thing. Mental health cannot, in my opinion, everyone, cannot be fixed with a pill. Medication can help. But and again, there's such the variety of mental health conditions that people can have. So one brush can't paint the whole picture here. But I'm just
I
finding
will
that.
say though,
Mhm,
I'm glad psychedelics is something that is making kind of a comeback in terms of research.
mhm,
I've been looking into that. I'd actually bought some stock into a company a while back because they were working on what they call it, a non-hallucinogenic psychedelic for opiate addiction, which they believed were as well. But looking into that, I noticed the mushroom research that's been going on, like psilocybin for
Mm-hmm.
depression and anxiety, and it's wild to me that with the studies that have gone on and the research that's been done there, it's completely ignored, right? Instead, we would rather, we're going to issue pills that have that. This always blew my mind. One of the side effects being suicidal thoughts. How
I
does that make
know.
any sense?
I'd
I
rather
think
stick
that if
with
you
the.
were prescribing a pill to somebody,
Yeah. Why would you give them something that already they're in a mental crisis,
yeah,
mental health crisis? Like I would rather stick with the heartburn or diarrhea. I do not want to take something that's going to give me suicidal thoughts. I'm not meaning to make
and
jest of it because that is a common side effect from some of the medications that we hear. But correct, like that does always stand out to me. I know they're always giving you the worst case scenario. The percentage of people that are going to be affected by this is very nominal, hopefully, but nevertheless, it's a side effect.
mm-hmm.
You're going to
Well,
you potentially may have suicidal thoughts. It's terrible.
and it just blows my mind that okay, so like I would like to think that if you created an antidepressant and then realized some of the potential side effects or suicidal thoughts, do you not
It's no longer
realize
an
that you just
antidepressant.
failed? Yeah, like
Yeah,
you totally failed at what you were doing. That's not what that is.
yeah.
And it's very common that whether it's the SSRIs or there's like just a ton of money to be made, and that's what I see in it.
And they're getting them young. So Jason and I have a couple of stories from within our family. So like our eldest, when he was little and getting into school, he's a bright boy, doesn't like to sit still. The teacher wanted to get him medicated. Flat out. She puts a piece of paper, slides it across the table to us at the parent-teacher meeting, and just says, I think you need to go take your son to a doctor, and I think he's going to need medication. Trying to push ADHD. No, my kid's bored out of your class. He's bored out of his mind. He's restless. My son is absolutely fine. And yeah, lo and behold, he just needed a better teacher because we moved schools and he was absolutely fine. He was able to focus.
Yeah, I was one of those kids that they got.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jason's half brother wasn't so lucky. He was medicated in school, encouraged by the father to do that. Unfortunately, he was involved in a major car accident at 17, put in a coma. We'd lost him, but it took 4 years for him, unfortunately, to pass. But he wasn't in the right state either. And again, this was encouraged within the school system. It's like, we can't deal with this restless child. Let's medicate. And that's where the cycle begins. That's where the intolerance to medication begins. And that's where you need something a bit more, a harder drug, flat out. You need a harder drug in order to get the effect that the body is now requiring and desiring and needs. But it doesn't help the mental condition of the person. And it's sad, but that's our society right now. Something's wrong. Oh, don't worry, there's a pill for that. But why do I have the issue to begin with? Let's try and address that. Medication can certainly help, but let's try and deal with the root issue. And I think, yeah, we're just starting younger and younger, and we're either
Absolutely.
encouraging conditions, or we're like just diagnosing everyone and say, don't worry, take this happy pill and you'll feel a lot better. But there's serious repercussions that's happening to the individual and to society.
Absolutely. And I mean, I would always jokingly say this, but I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think there is some truth to it. And like, I would always laugh like, there was always that marijuana is the gateway drug thing. And I would always laugh at people and say, no, it was Ritalin. That was mine. Right. That's what got me. And the only thing I can ever remember about using the Ritalin was that if I missed one pill, my whole day Like I felt sick, and it was like,
Because
I
your
never
body
understood what
needed
it
it.
was. Yes, I look back now and realize
Mhm.
that I experienced my first withdrawal symptoms as a child, right?
Yeah.
And I don't truthfully think Ritalin really did anything other than, maybe appease the teacher because I'm no longer as restless anymore. But I again, and I think this is where my distrust of the system comes from as well. I remember my diagnosis, and that was I was just sitting across from the psychiatrist and shaking my knee like I usually do, right? And I mean, I still do it to this day. And she asked me if I could stop, and I remember saying no. And I'm pretty sure that's mostly my, defiance. I'm just kind of like that. But immediately she diagnosed me off of that. That was it. It was just because I shake my knee and didn't want to stop. I'm like, okay, give him Ritalin.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it really comes down to, yeah, you're just bored. That's all it is. Because and I think that's another thing that kind of maybe contributes to mental health too. Like you look at our education system, we know that kids learn in different ways, but we only
Mm.
cater to one way, really.
Homeschool all the
And
way,
it's like,
people. Homeschool all
yeah,
the
I
way.
mean, it's looking like a better and better idea every day, right? Um, Especially when you look at what's going on in the schools now, and yeah, I mean, it's a wild world right now, and
It is. I
often,
mean, look what's happening in Australia. They've put into law this under 16, 16s and unders are not allowed access to social media. And the argument is, well, look, that children today are growing up in a different environment and they require it. Well, what about the generation before them who grew up without social media? We're alive, we're just fine. And we tease our boys as like, anytime they're bored and like, they want electronics, like, no, just be bored. But what did you guys do? We played with dust. That's that's what Jason and I
yeah,
say. We played with dust when we were younger. Like Daddy and I didn't have electronics, and if there were electronics around, they were too expensive, and our parents would not allow us to touch them. That would be step one. And you read, you used your imagination. So it's something that has been an ongoing battle because I do believe as a parent today, I don't think most parents you want your children to have what you didn't have. Fair enough. But we're seeing the effects on the actual physical being and the attention span. So it's like, no. Maybe things were right back in our day where these things didn't exist. And so we have to try and find that balance of having access to stuff that, yeah, you are good. This is in your life now. It's not going anywhere. But to realize that it's not the only thing in your life now. And there are other things that can bring you joy. And yeah, if you need to be bored. Like you'll
but
be a better
the,
person
the
for it.
other the other aspect with social media too, though, is I mean that's also addiction, right? Because it's the dopamine hits you get when you get a
Hmm.
like,
Where's my
or you
like?
get
Where's my like? Yeah.
exactly, and I think this also creates what I like to refer to as like main character syndrome, right? It's like suddenly you feel like you're the star of the show
Hmm.
because everything in your social media does revolve around you, right? And I think that has a huge negative effect. Um, I think it can help create some narcissistic traits. Um, and I mean, really, social media isn't all that great. It's not. It's weird, right? Like it got so ingrained into our society. It's like we can't not have it, but we all acknowledge that we probably shouldn't.
Completely. We know it's bad for us, like the negative effects. But let me just finish reading this post, or let me just
Yeah,
finish doing
right.
this.
Yeah.
No,
Or
I
let me
hear
let me post
you.
that I shouldn't have social media, right?
I
That's that's another that's a favorite one right there is posting the dangers of social media on social
Exactly.
media.
Exactly. No, I hear you. I hear you. But it's a fine line. Look, there's no denying. Like we're no longer going to have the cranking car windows. There's always going to be a button. Like the microwave exists. Like there are these things now that are going to be in this current generation's and future generations' life. We do just have to be aware and realize that we shouldn't just open the floodgates to it. Let's just monitor the flow. And I think that's an important thing that as parents we need to do, to set that example for kids that, I have a 10 and an 8-year-old. They're not getting a cell phone. They don't need one. They'd like one. They don't know why they don't know why they'd like one. They'd like one in order to play games on it. But that's not what a cell phone is for.
Yeah, right. And
that's the thing. That's not what it's for.
My nephew's the same, and like this is another reason why this is all kind of something that I'm into, is because like I take care of my nephew. I had to take him in 2020, and at this point in time, I honestly could not tell you if my sister, his mother, is alive. I assume she is, but I can't 100% say that, because I know that she is a resident of our homeless encampment. She's unfortunately an addict. I tried a few things. Unfortunately, though, I realized that a lot of it was a conflict of interest with me having him here, because I had originally thought maybe just letting her come and see her son more often would maybe kind of help move things along. But it just ended up in arguments as to whether or not she was high, because I couldn't tell. And I realized the conflict of interest there. But it's this whole idea of mental health and just the way that it's just, to me, I feel it's ignored, right? Unless it's beneficial. That's kind of my view of it at this point. I'm a cynical guy too, though, so maybe that's part of it. But I don't know. I think that a lot of people say things and then they're just not acted on anymore, and that's a big problem within the mental health aspect, because I mean a lot of these people already think you don't care.
I just want to add, cheers to you then, Jonny. Not so Jonny Rawton, but no, you're a good man. Thank you for doing this, and again, thank you for mentioning about you stepping up for your nephew. Yeah.
Right. No, it is what it is, though, right? I mean, somebody had to do it, and I was the one that got that call, so
good man.
Fine. But,
good man.
And that's kind of the situation we're in, though, right? Addictions everywhere around here, and homelessness is starting to go up, and an election definitely can't come soon enough. That's for sure.
Yeah, but homelessness is going up, but don't worry, they're going to move them out of the way so that they get good PR in the cities. No, it's sad.
Yeah,
it's sad.
Right. There's Brits coming to town, quick.
Yeah, but shout out to, I think, Bright Cat News. He's in Guelph, and he also shares the information of what's going on in Guelph with the homelessness situation, and how the counties or the cities are just moving the encampments out of the way, move the tent cities out of the way. We don't want to see them, and they're trying to hide it.
We do it differently here. We're spending, what was the figure again? Oh, was it, I think, $100,000 or something like that? But we're giving the homeless encampment here lighting, security guards, and also they're trucking in porta-johns twice a day for 2 hours a day. Turns out they're not using them, but it is what it is.
They're going to keep spending the money anyway, because virtue signaling too. Look what we're doing for the community.
Well, what I laughed at the idea, because I remember taking the figure that they had. I can't remember offhand exactly what it was, but it's a lot. And then I remember hearing that I think we had 50 cents set up. So I did it. If you had to get 50 apartments at $2,000 a month for each of those apartments, that's about what we're spending to provide the security, lighting, and toilets. And I mean, I'm not exactly advocating for government to start paying everybody's rent, but I'm just saying, it just, to me, looking at that's just stupid in my mind.
It's how money could be used differently and to have a better result.
Right?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and I mean, and we look at all these migrants that get hotels when they come in illegally, and it's like that was a situation that I looked at as the government is saying, like, look, we could do something to assist homelessness. We just choose not to, right? But we will for these people. And it's kind of a slap in the face.
Well, at least they didn't use the lines on the veterans. You're asking for too much. You're asking for more than we can give.
And it seems we're all asking for more than they can give. That's the problem.
Yeah. But we certainly
don't mind taking more.
No, but definitely I think our mental health advocacy could be definitely improved. Like, it just seems that things could be done better. Yes, you've highlighted that there's an issue, there's a crisis, but truly what is being done about it other than a once a year, let's donate 5 cents for every text call to the cause. Correct.
Well, I know around here, detox is something that has been talked about for years, but we still don't have a detox center. We still don't have, you know what I mean? It's all, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have this. Well, why don't we? We have a healthcare system where you are taking tax money from everybody. You know, like, is there maybe somewhere that we could stop giving money and funnel some more here? Because I'm sure if you let me at the budget, I could find some things we could trim.
I think we all could, my friend. I think we all could. I think the general rule, we could all do something a little better, a little differently to have a more fruitful outcome. Whatever. I agree on that. Okay, so why don't we go over now to our members area. Public, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you have taken something out of this conversation today about mental health, about Kayla. Go to Kayla's Corner 2014.com if you want to get more information. There's also the Give, Send, Go. I'll be putting all of the links in the show descriptions and comment section, so you can check it out later or share it on to others. But Kayla, we'd had a comment earlier, like, how many other Kaylas have there been out there where they've recognized that they're in a crisis, they've actually gone to get help, medical assistance, emergency assistance, and they've just been, it seems to be sent on their way as a few hours later and a life has been lost. Let's not have another Kayla. And her dad and her family are doing what they can to create the awareness, to share the information out so that this cannot be repeated by somebody else. And thank you, Jonny, for joining us today. You're a good friend. I'll say it again, to step in to help Matt with this, to get Kayla's message out. So hang on, stay with us, and we'll go to the members area. Public, if you'd like to become a member, go ahead and go to the LavigneShow.com. You can also download the Android and Apple apps there, and you can become a member. Go ahead and email members@theLavigneShow.com. We do have preferred pricing, so if you want some assistance with that, or just want assistance in general in setting up your membership, go ahead and email. And you can also call 587-673-9955, and I'll pick up the phone and help you out with the membership. But public, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful day. I'm going to copy Jason's line here. Go shake the hand of a neighbor or a stranger, because, again, you don't know what that is going to mean to them. So for everyone, have a fantastic day, and take care, and God bless.
Warning: member videos may contain confidential information about ongoing legal proceedings. Unauthorized publication, distribution, or broadcasting of the contents of these videos outside of the members area is strictly prohibited. Violations could result in charges under the Criminal Code of